Singapore is a sunny, tropical island in Southeast Asia, off the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula. The city-state is 710 square kilometers and inhabited by 5 million people from 4 major communities: the Chinese, Malay, Indian, and Eurasian. Chinese is the majority. Since its independence in 9 August 1965, the country has adopted a parliamentary democracy system, ideally positioned in Southeast Asia, where the rest of the region is just hop, skip, and jump away. Singapore is a thriving metropolis offering a world-class infrastructure, a fully integrated island-wide transport network, a dynamic business environment, vibrant living spaces, and rich culture, large influence by the 4 major communities in Singapore, with each offering different perspective of life in Singapore in terms of culture, religion, food, language, and history.
And now we will tackle about the mission and vision in educational system of Singapore. Mission: Singapore's education system aims to bring out the best in every child by enabling a student to discover their talents, realize their full potential, and develop a passion lifelong learning. Vision: They seek to nurture the whole child and help them develop enduring core of competencies, values, and character to ensure that they have the capabilities and the position to thrive in the 21st century. The purpose of educational system in Singapore is to discover the hidden talents of students, capabilities, character, values, and etc. They mastering or they developing their talents or their passion to achieve what they want to be in their future. And also, it helps the student to do good in society and become source of inspiration to the next generation.
The levels of education here in Singapore. The learning system here in Singapore consists of 6 years of primary education, 4 to 5 years of secondary school, and 1 to 3 years of post-secondary education. Preschool, also known as nursery or kindergarten, is not compulsory and voluntary, offered by both of the Ministry of Education and private providers. The 6 years of primary education in Singapore is compulsory and all Singapore citizens living in Singapore must attend primary school. The Compulsory Education Act is passed to ensure that every Singaporean child can attain common knowledge that will provide a strong foundation for further education. Singapore also hopes to provide every child with a common school experience that will help build national identity and encourage social cohesion. Every child will study the primary curriculum for 6 years to sit for their primary school living experience, also known as PSLE, at the end of their 6th year. This is a national examination and will determine the schools and streams the child will proceed to for their secondary school education. Children will attend secondary school education based on their academic results for their PSLE. They will also be streamed into 3 different streams: express, normal academic, normal technical. Even though students are sorted into different bands, the subjects that are taken by the students are essentially the same if not similar. The only difference would be the level of difficulty. The core subjects taken by an upper secondary students are as follows. We have the English language, mother tongue language, science, double or triple pure science, biology, chemistry, physics, combined science with electives, mathematics, humanities, pure geography, and combined humanities. The lower secondary school students will take all the subjects in the first 2 years before the streaming exercise at the end of their secondary 2 years. Children will be able to choose the subjects they are interested in and they are competent to take. The selection of subjects at this stage will determine the subjects your child will be sitting for their O-level examinations at the end of their final year in secondary school, showing on their final transcripts and result slips. Different schools offer different subjects and choices for your child. For example, not all schools provide triple pure science or pure humanities. This is an extremely circular point to note, for it may affect what your child is able to pursue in polytechnic or university. Hence, it is important when it comes to choosing the right secondary school after PSLE. It is important to be aware of what the schools are able to provide for your child for their development. Students will sit for their GCE, O or N level examinations at the end of their secondary school journey. They will then decide which path they wish to take moving forward. So let's move on to junior college. The junior college education path is a 2-year path and students will sit for the GCE A-level examinations at the end of their junior college too. Junior college, students will also be streamed into science or art stream and they will need to take relevant core subjects with respect to their stream. Have H1, H2, and H3 subjects. H1 subjects are worth 1 point and H2 subjects are worth 2 points. H3 subjects are offered students who are academically able to cope with the additional subjects on top of their H1 and H2 subjects. H1, H2, and H3 refer to the depth of the subject taken by the students, with H1 subject being briefer than H2 and H3 subjects, and H3 being a more advanced level of the subject. We also have the Polytechnic. Polytechnic is the alternative path to junior college. Students will choose a specific course they wish to study and the course of study is 3 years. Here's the ultimate guide to all the polytechnics in Singapore. First, they will be graded by a grade point average of 4.0. There are many different courses offered by all the polytechnics in Singapore and they are classified into different faculties. Under these faculties, there are specific courses offered accordingly. Institute of Technical Education. The ITE is a public education institution of Singapore that provides secondary school graduates pre-employment training. The ITE offers NITEC and Higher NITEC, both of which are 2 years courses to complete respectively.
Multilingualism is the use of more than 2 languages either by an individual speaker or by a group of speakers. It is believed that multilingual speakers outnumber by monolingual speakers in the world's population, but many read and write in one language. Multilingualism is advantageous for people wanting to participate in trade, globalization, and cultural openness. In Singapore, being multilingual brings about many advantages. You can take up Korean courses in Singapore and stand out from the crowd. Not only you will be in a better position, engage with nationals from one Singapore's most significant trading partner. You can also benefit from these advantages. The first one is you will improve your memory skills because the more words you encounter, the more you want to know the meaning of it and you go beyond for you just to find it out. Second, you gain advanced decision. For example, is when you're in a place that you've been in the first time. Then you will be naive for their language because you don't have any idea on what they're talking about. Just like they ask you and they translate it in a wrong way and then you agreed, there will be some conflicts. The third one is making skills. Next is making skills. This can enhance your reading, listening, talking, writing comprehension when you are exploring. The fourth one is opens up a bag full of job opportunities. This can help you get a job in any country if you are a multilingual. If one of the qualifications or if you can speak their language, this can help you find a job in any country. Last one is make you more insightful. These show a very good understanding of people and situations because you can help when you know some of someone's country. Owing to this, to ease the access of information facilitated by the internet, individuals' exposure to multiple languages has become increasingly possible. People who speak several languages are also called polyglots.
So now, let's move on to the effects of multilingualism in Singapore. Singapore has always been a multilingual society, and the country has 4 official languages, which is the English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil. Being trilingual in Singapore used to be norm but is now very rare. Since the independence as a nation, the government has had active language planning policies in force. The government told the Chinese Singaporeans to replace their dialect with Mandarin. People listened, and many stopped using their dialect. Since many of the Chinese Singaporeans didn't know Mandarin, it is likely that some of them replaced their dialect with English instead. The changes in language use is apparent. In 1980, 11.6% of the population used English as the predominant household language, while 10.2% used Mandarin. In 2000, the number were 23% and 35%. This development had begun prior to 1979, but the campaign resulted in a noticeable shift in language practices among Singaporeans. The city-state seems to be evolving from multilingualism towards the official bilingual model, English and one other official language. However, the increase in the use of English and Mandarin in Singapore may also be driven by world economic trends. The Speak Mandarin campaign has been a great success from the point of view of its instigators, as evidenced in growing positive attitudes towards speaking Mandarin and the rise in the use of Mandarin as home language. It has also successfully reduced the use of Chinese dialects as home languages.
Currently, the main medium of instruction is English.
Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil are designated as mother tongues in a Singaporean understanding of the world. In addition to English, students are taught one of the 3 languages, which is decided by their ethnicity to a high level. Moreover,
the older generation is multilingual, like the norm used to be, while the younger generation is bilingual, usually in English and one mother tongue. While you're in school, you have to be proficient in 2 languages. This gives young children a good proficiency. Many stop using their mother tongue, especially at university, as a result of young people's language choices and their parents' pragmatic approach. Malay, Tamil, and Chinese are losing ground. An unfortunate consequence of the language situation in Singapore is that elderly who do not speak English or Mandarin have been marginalized. The language situation has changed so rapidly they have been unable to keep up.
Singapore is a multiracial country with diverse ethnic groups and cultures. The major racial groups in Singapore are the Chinese, Malays, Indians, and others, mainly Eurasians. During British colonial rule, the local schools' medium of instruction was based on their mother tongue, that is the language of their respective ethnic group. In 1965, when Singapore obtained full independence, there was a need for a lingua franca to facilitate communication among the different races and different dialect-speaking groups. Then, English was not just a world language but more importantly the language of Commonwealth and of science and technology. Since the Watu group can claim English to be their own language, English was considered a convenient means by which Singaporeans could express their common national identity. The government named English along with Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil, the languages of the major ethnic groups, to be the four official languages of Singapore. The bilingual education policy was one of the first policies of the newly formed independent government. The policy was implemented as a way of unifying the different ethnic groups while providing an anchor for pupils with their ethnic and cultural heritage. With the implementation of the policy, English medium schools were expected to offer a choice of Mandarin, Malay, and Tamil as a second language. English was offered as a second language in non-English medium schools. The schools were also expected to use the pupils' mother tongues as the medium of instruction for civics and history lessons. The rising popularity of the use of the English language of international trade, non-English medium schools faced dwindling enrollments. By 1987, all schools were converted to medium schools in terms of university education. English has been used as the medium of instruction since 1979.
The overview of Singapore and the Philippines. Singapore is a tropical island in Southeast Asia and southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, while the Philippines is an island of Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific off the coast of Vietnam. Singapore has 710 square kilometers and with 5 million people, while Philippines has 298,170 square meter with 310 million Filipinos. Singapore is known for being a rich country and the Philippines is still developing. Now, let's proceed to the levels of basic education of Singapore and the Philippines. The learning system here in Singapore consists of 6 years of primary education, 4 to 5 years of secondary school, and 1 to 3 years of post-secondary education, while here in the Philippines is offered through formal and non-formal systems. Formal education typically spans 14 years and is constructed in a 6 plus 4 plus 4 system. 6 years of primary school education, 4 years of secondary education, and 4 years of higher education leading to a bachelor's degree. Next is the mission and vision of the both countries. The mission and vision of Singapore is, in the mission, Singapore's education system aims to bring out the best in every child by enabling students to discover their talents, realize their full potential, and develop a passion lifelong learning. While in the vision, they seek to nurture the whole child and help them develop enduring core of competencies, values, and character to ensure that they have the capabilities and disposition to thrive in the 21st century. In the Philippines, the DepEd vision is, we dream of Filipinos who passionately love their country and whose values and competencies enable them to realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to building the nation. As a learner-centered public institution, the Department of Education continuously improves itself to better serve its stakeholders. The DepEd mission is to protect and promote the right of every Filipino quality, equitable, culture-based, and complete basic education where students learn in a child-friendly, gender-sensitive, safe, and motivating environment. Teachers facilitate learning and constantly nurture every learner. Administrators and staff, as stewards of the institution, ensure an enabling, supportive environment for effective learning to happen. Family, community, and other stakeholders are actively engaged and share responsibility for developing lifelong learners. Now, the language policy of Singapore and the Philippines. In Singapore, we have bilingual policy in Singapore and the language policy of Commission on Higher Education here in the Philippines. The multilingual policy and the benefits. Multilingualism is used more than one language, either by an individual speaker or by a group of speakers. Multilingualism is advantageous for people wanting to participate in trade, globalization, and cultural openness. That is why Singapore and the Philippines being multilingual brings about many advantages. Multilingual policy and its benefits and effects. As Philippines and Singapore, a country of multilingualism, the benefits are multilingualism sharpens the mind, enhances the process of the decision making, and able to multitask, and many more. The impact of multilingual in the Singapore and the Philippines, the impact for both countries have both positive and negative, which lists somehow advantage and disadvantage, which had explained in the previous videos. Like for instance, in Singapore had somehow conflict in this kind of aspect, and also the Philippines. Bilingual policy in Singapore and Philippines. So we have bilingual education policy was one of the first policies of the newly formed independent government. The policy was implemented as a way of unifying the different ethnic groups while providing an anchor for pupils, their ethnic and cultural heritage. While in the Philippines, there is the Department Order Number 25, Series 1974, the implementing guidelines for the policy on bilingual education. So thank you, and that is the overview of the Singapore and the Philippines in the aspect of education.